Coming up on Good Morning Northwest, new details if you're coming out to the Benton County Fairgrounds mass vaccination site.
Plus, we're tracking school reopenings and how the process is different from district to district.
But we have another round of winter weather on the way. I'll have a look at when you can expect it to start in your area. That's all coming up.
From Camp KVUE Local News, this is Good Morning Northwest.
Good morning and happy Tuesday, everyone. We've got Neil here with us this morning and Kristen, first off, telling us about our forecast. A little bit more calm today, Kristen?
It is. It is looking much better. And I'm finally looking at the right camera, apparently. But let's get you started first this morning with that live look. This is from the Legends Skycam Network from Richland's Columbia Point, and we are looking at another round of winter weather on the way, but I think the majority of the daytime hours today, it's going to be dry. We're going to have a little bit of some sunshine trying to peek out as well. There's a look at the radar and satellite this morning. Much better compared to what we had out there yesterday. So we're expecting some sun, as I mentioned, to come up. Once the sun comes up, we will enjoy some of that. But it is another cold start. We're actually 1 degree above freezing in the Tri-Cities, 31 for Yakima, and then 30 degrees for Walla Walla. And a little bit of some freezing fog as well developing there, especially along the eastern slopes. Cle Elum, your visibility down to about 1 mile. So again, through the majority of the daytime hours, dry with some sunshine and that high temperature near 40 degrees. But tracking that winter weather, who could pick up some accumulating snowfall, who's under that winter weather advisory? More details in that full forecast that's coming up.
Thank you, Kristen. The mass vaccination site at the Benton County Fairgrounds had a huge turnout yesterday. Hundreds of people lined up trying to get their COVID-19 vaccine. Cap KVUE's Neil Fisher is joining us live this morning from the fairgrounds with an update. Neil, they've had to make some changes.
Good morning, Monica. That's right. The Benton County Fairground mass vaccination site that was first come, first serve on Monday is now requiring appointments. The state health department, the Southeast Washington Incident Management Team announced late last night that the state health department is requiring people to get an appointment to get the vaccine here. The site was open for around 6 hours yesterday. One man coming from Walla Walla said he started driving at 2 o'clock in the morning to be the first in line.
I'm getting this shot because I got to protect all the other grandparents, the grandkids, the wife, and everybody else.
This morning, the site will be open at 8:30 this morning and will now only be open to people with pre-registration. If you have an appointment for today before 2 p.m., you can get the shot. But for those of you that have an appointment after 2 p.m., your appointment will now be moved to Wednesday. To schedule an appointment, go to prepmod.doh.wa.gov. You can check out findyourphasewa.org to see if you are eligible for the vaccine. You must bring proof of registration as well as your findyourphasewa.org confirmation. Around 500 people received the Moderna COVID-19 vaccination on Monday. Today, the officials tell me that they will be giving out the Moderna vaccine just because of the quantity of doses that they received from the state health department. Once again, officials are stressing the importance of patience today. The line is already long, as well as requiring that appointment. That's big. Back to you, Monica.
Thank you so much, Neil. And this week marks a big milestone for some Tri-Cities schools. They're starting hybrid learning for middle and high schoolers. Cap KVUE's Madeline Hagan has a closer look at how the new schedules work and what parents need to be aware of.
It's been 11 months since middle and high schoolers have been back inside their classrooms. But this week, that changes for the Kennewick and Richland school districts. For KSD, middle school students will return on Wednesday and high schoolers next Tuesday on February 2nd. Students will be in an AABB cohort. AA will physically be in class on Monday and Tuesday in the morning, then no live instruction on Wednesday, and remote learning on Thursdays and Fridays starting in the afternoon. For the BB cohort, students will virtually attend class later in the day on Mondays and Tuesdays, then go to school on Thursdays and Fridays. The times for middle and high schoolers differ, so be sure to check the schedule. Over in Richland, they're following a similar cohort grouping. Sixth graders in Group A begin on Wednesday, January 27th, and Group B on the 28th. Grades 7 through 8 in Group A begin on February 1st and B on the 2nd. Of course, both districts have breaks in between classes for sanitizing materials. KSD and RSD do require parents to provide daily health checks for their students to stop the spread of COVID-19. As for the Pasco School District, their website says they are monitoring options for middle and high schoolers. They have a proposed plan for those students to present to the school board during a meeting on January 26th. For KapKVU Local News, I'm Madeline Hagan.
Thank you, Madeline. And that brings us to our poll question of the day. Do you think kids should return to school right now? We want to know your opinion. So there's a poll up right now on yaktrinews.com/vote. Head over there and let us know what you think. Teachers in Oregon can now start getting vaccinated. It's a significant split from Washington and California, which have both put seniors in the front of the line. And the decision has conflicting responses.
Back to school is my main objective. If that gets us back fast or quicker, then I think it's a great move.
I think our elders deserve that vaccine beforehand. I would never want to say no to my 80-year-old mother over a teacher.
Oregon Governor Kate Brown says schools have to reopen as soon as possible for students' mental health and to make sure they don't fall too far behind. Washington, as we mentioned, is putting seniors at the front of the line for vaccines right after first responders and healthcare workers. Residents at one Spokane area nursing home say they're excited to get the vaccine if it means seeing loved ones again. One man said he's been waiting almost a year to see his wife in person.
She brings stuff and I'll go down to the lobby a lot of times and wave at her. So get to see her that way, but that's not the same, of course. I was anxious to get it when I first came out. I would have been the first in line. I was third in line today.
This particular nursing home got doses from the Federal Pharmacy Partnership Program a few weeks after they'd initially expected to get them. In Yakima, officers showed up to a home where a 14-year-old boy had allegedly punched two people and attacked two others with a knife. Police say they knew the teen from other incidents and they knew he had mental health issues. Officers found him walking on Summit View Avenue, knife in hand. When he refused to drop the weapon, officers shot him in the thigh with beanbag rounds.
We were able to use less lethal tactics to disarm that person and take him into custody for his safety, the community's safety, to treat the other patients, and then to get him in a place where he can get the help he needs.
The incident comes just days after YPD officers received extra training on de-escalating crisis situations. Murray said he's proud of the officers involved for preventing what could have been a lethal situation. The Washington Fraternal Order of Police announced its support for the placement of Benton County Sheriff Jerry Hatcher on the county's Brady List. The Brady List includes names of law enforcement officers whose credibility could be impeached at trial based on information about their honesty or bias in a case. This decision comes on the heels of the Washington State Supreme Court allowing a recall petition to remove Hatcher from office to move forward. They noted that all 8 charges in the recall petition are enough evidence to proceed with the impeachment vote. 5:37, it's now time to raise the flag here on Good Morning Northwest with the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome back, everyone. In Yakima, the Navy is opening a new recruiting station. This will be the Navy's first full-time presence there since the previous recruitment center closed about 6 years ago. They're hoping it'll help build diversity in the Navy. We'll be delving deeper into that coming up later tonight on KapKVU Local News. Coming up next on Good Morning Northwest, a cold case dating back to the 80s is taking a step forward. How state investigators managed to identify the victim of a murder that took place decades ago.
Now, KapKVU First Alert Weather with Chief Meteorologist Kristen Walls.
5:44 and welcome back to Good Morning Northwest. Today we are going to see a brief break from the winter weather. But we already have a winter weather advisory that is in place for the eastern slopes, including the Yakima and the Kittitas Valley. That is expected to start later on this evening at 6 p.m., go through Wednesday in the afternoon until 1 p.m. So that Wednesday morning commute will be impacted from the system. But we are starting off early this morning, pretty quiet around our area, looking much better compared to yesterday. I think we'll see a little bit of some sunshine even peeking through. But that next system is starting to work on shore already. And again, this is going to deliver our chance for some snowfall that will start to accumulate, a wintry mix that is expected for other locations. So let's get you over to Futurecast as we look ahead over the next couple of days with what we can expect. Again, a little bit of some sun out and about for this afternoon. There's a look at 5 o'clock. I think the majority of that commute home still good to go, but then just after about 6 or 7 o'clock, arriving into the Yakima and the Kittitas Valley, the snow will already start to stack up. But in the Tri-Cities, looking at a little bit more of a wintry mix. There's a look at 11 o'clock for tonight. That will continue overnight. There's at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning with the snow that's still piling up for the Yakima and the Kittitas Valley. Wintry mix for portions of the Tri-Cities into the foothills of the Blues. But then just after about 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, we'll start to see some drier conditions. That winter weather heads up to our north. There's a look at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. A little bit of some sun, but we'll get another wave of energy by 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Could create maybe a sprinkle or two for parts of our area. Slight chance for still a wintry mix for the Yakima and the Kittitas Valley. Before Thursday, we're going to be going back to some drier weather and a partly sunny sky for as we get closer towards the end of the work week. So how much snow are we expecting with this system? I think for the Yakima and the Kittitas Valley, anywhere between 1 to 3 inches, but there could be some isolated amounts of up to 4 inches expected for some locations. So they're looking at, again, some impacts there for portions of the Tri-Cities, maybe up to a ½ inch, an inch in some locations, but that's a similar story here for the foothills of the Blues with lesser amounts with this system. So as far as what we're seeing out the door this morning, temperature-wise, we're looking at just above that freezing mark for the Tri-Cities at 33. Walla Walla this morning, you're at 30 degrees with 33 in Hermiston, and then Yakima sitting in at 31. There is just a little bit of some fog that has popped up mainly for the eastern slopes of the Cascades. Tri-Cities, your visibility at 4, and then down to about 3 for the Pendleton area. So there, look at your temperatures for this afternoon. It's going to be a cold day for Toppenish and Yakima. You're going to be at 34. 40 degrees, though, for the Tri-Cities into Hermiston. Connell today at 37, and then there's upper 30s from Dayton, Walla Walla, and also for Pendleton. So overnight tonight, wintry mix. The snow will be likely as those numbers dip down into the upper 20s and low 30s. There's your 7-day. That wintry mix on Wednesday, 45. Much drier and actually warmer temperatures as we head into the weekend with 46 on Saturday. Rain showers developing by Sunday afternoon. And then in Yakima, the snow will be likely, especially for the first half of the day on Wednesday. Drier conditions Thursday and Friday, and then that wintry mix by the second half of the day Sunday, and a high of 42.
Thank you, Kristen. Authorities in Washington say genetic genealogy has helped identify the youngest known victim of one of the nation's most prolific serial killers. The remains of 14-year-old Wendy Stevens were found nearly 37 years ago near a baseball field. In 2003, Gary Ridgway, the so-called Green River Killer, pleaded guilty to murdering 49 women and girls in the 1980s. 4 of them were unidentified, including Stevens, until now. Researchers at the DNA Doe Project help with the identification.
Our goal is to restore her identity, restore her name, so that, somewhere she has a family that was looking for her. And that's our goal, is to restore the victim's name.
But it's important for those families, important for the survivors, that they know that we are still working on these cases, even after 35 years or so, and even after Gary Ridgway is going to rot away and die in prison.
The King County Sheriff's Office said in Seattle Monday that Stevens had run away from her home in Denver in 1983. Ridgway is serving his life sentence in the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla. In Tacoma, protesters have set a large fire damage to buildings and marched with signs in response to a police officer driving through a crowd. The demonstrators gathered Sunday evening near the intersection where at least 2 people were struck before being sent to the hospital. And this video may be disturbing to watch, but we want to show you what led up to the officer driving through the crowd. Now, this is downtown Tacoma. Police say someone called 911 to report street racing, and when officers showed up, there were about 100 people blocking this intersection. Police say an officer called out for everyone to break it up, but as you can hear this on some of the witnesses' videos, people surrounded the cruiser and started banging on the cruiser's doors and windows instead. Police say he didn't have backup and got scared, so he drove forward into the crowd.
People started going to the cop cars. They're yelling at him. It looked like something out of a zombie movie, honestly. Like, if you see a zombie movie and you imagine you're trying to get away from a bunch of zombies, you run them over.
Now, everyone did survive. Tacoma police say the officer is 58 years old and has been with the department for almost 30 years. He's on paid leave right now while the Pierce County Force Investigation Team does its work. Local Republican Party chairs are calling for Congressman Dan Newhouse to resign over his vote to impeach then-President Trump. But Newhouse says he's not going anywhere. The GOP chairs of Yakima, Benton, Franklin, Grant, Adams, and Douglas County sent a letter to Newhouse. They said an overwhelming majority of their constituents were calling for his resignation. We asked the congressman how he felt about all this. He said, quote, "I am not resigning. I am a conservative Republican who holds the principles of our Constitution and the priorities of Central Washington above all else, and we have a lot of work to do to keep the Biden administration accountable." Newhouse also announced he's been named Assistant Whip of the House and will stand against Democrats. When we come back, Kristen Walls will have your close-to-home weather forecast. Good Morning Northwest continues right after this. Welcome back, everyone. We're starting to learn more about the long-term impacts of COVID-19, and that's partially thanks to research at the University of Washington. Experts there say around 1 in 12 people who have gotten coronavirus are still dealing with lingering effects several months later, and the risk seems to apply to all age groups.
This morning, we're getting referrals for pediatric patients and then, patients all the way up into their 70s. How you think, can you manage your money? Can you remember your task, where your keys are, or how to get home from work, things like that.
Since this is all still very new, doctors don't know if the long-term impacts will last for years or even be permanent, but they're trying out giving those patients medications that help people recovering from a concussion or a stroke to see if that helps with their recovery. Pharmaceutical company Merck is ending its development of a COVID-19 vaccine. Their decision comes after early studies showed their version wasn't as effective as other COVID-19 vaccines. Still, Merck says it plans to submit results from its phase 1 trials of vaccine candidates for publication in a peer-reviewed journal. 2 COVID-19 vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna have already been approved for emergency use in the United States. Both are said to be about 95% effective after 2 doses. And pharmaceutical giant Moderna believes its coronavirus vaccine will protect against new variants of the virus. Those variants were first identified in the UK and South Africa. The variant first spotted in the UK had no significant impact on the vaccine's effectiveness, but the results for the variant first found in South Africa weren't as optimistic, and some studies have suggested vaccines may be somewhat less effective against that strain. However, Moderna is confident their vaccine will still be effective. Thousands of troops could help distribute COVID-19 vaccines in the U.S. 4 sources say that's an option the Defense Department is considering to help meet President Biden's vaccination goal. The sources say a plan could be unveiled later this week, but the strategy isn't yet decided. One notes as many as 10,000 troops could be deployed. That could include active duty troops, National Guard members, or both. The deployment could also involve medical units that have been on standby. President Biden wants to work up to a vaccination rate of 1.5 million doses a day.
And at 5:57, let's get you to that close-to-home forecast. A little bit of some sun is even in the forecast for this afternoon. There, look at some of your temperatures will be close to that 40-degree mark for Richland and Pasco. A little bit of some morning fog there as well, so just a heads up, maybe a few slick spots for that commute to work. Similar here along the foothills, but enjoying a little bit of some of that afternoon sunshine as well. Stanfield should be up to about 39, 37 in Pilot Rock and Touchy today, also in the upper 30s. We'll have a dry start throughout the majority, at least, of the daytime hours, but that snow is expected to develop later on this evening. It's going to be a cold day, just a few degrees above freezing for many spots there. And then that snow developing in Kittitas County as well. 35 for Vantage, up to 29 in Ellensburg, and then 28 for Cle Elum.
Thank you, Kristen. Well, check this out. With Valentine's Day around the corner, it's hard to escape the heart-shaped gifts and decor, and soon you'll find it in the cereal aisle too. Cheerios is bringing back what it calls its happy heart-shaped O's for a second year. While the limited edition boxes will be around for Valentine's Day, they're actually coming out for National Heart Health Month, which is February. General Mills says Cheerios is on a mission to put a smile on people's faces and inspire them to focus on a heart-healthy lifestyle. The boxes of original Cheerios, the honey nut, blueberry, chocolate, and cinnamon will be available in late January and while supplies last.
There's just something so good about a box of Cheerios. And even just, you don't have to have them with milk or anything. You can just grab a handful of them and they're tasty just like that.
Hard to believe though, Valentine's Day is right around the corner.
But yeah, all that decor in the store.
I know.
No matter where you go, all the chocolate that's in your face that I have to say, no, don't pick those up.
That's the hard part.
It is.
Coming up next on Good Morning Northwest, some big changes are happening at the Benton County vaccination site. We have the latest. Plus, we'll show you how Washington State is teaming up with some big companies to speed up the vaccination process. Good Morning Northwest continues right now.
From Camp KVUE Local News, this is Good Morning Northwest.
Good morning, Northwest. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday morning. Kristen, we've got Neil outside in the cold right now. Just how cold is it out there for him?
We are around freezing early this morning, but I think it's a little bit different compared to yesterday. He just had all that snow falling on him. Today, different story. So let's get started first. That live look. Legends Skycam Network from Richland's Columbia Point. The roads are looking much better compared to yesterday morning as well. So the snow is out of here for just a brief time. We'll have another round of winter weather on the way over the next 24 hours. Our current temperatures, though, right now, we're actually just 1 degree above freezing in the Tri-Cities, 25 for Dayton, Walla Walla down to about 29, and then there's low 30s for Yakima and even Toppenish this morning. There's a little bit of some freezing fog that has developed as well. Mainly along the eastern slopes, Cle Elum down to about 1 mile and then 5 miles there in the Tri-City. So we are expecting a little bit of some sunshine to peek out for today with that high temperature near 40 degrees. But tracking that winter weather, I'll tell you when you can expect it in your neighborhood, along with that winter weather advisory that's in place. More details coming up.
Thank you, Kristen. Well, the mass vaccination site at the Benton County Fairgrounds had a huge turnout yesterday. Hundreds of people turned up to try to get a COVID-19 vaccine. Cap KVUE's Neil Fisher is joining us live this morning with an update, though. Neil, they've had to make some changes, right?
Good morning, Monica. That's right. The Benton County Fairgrounds vaccination site that was first come, first serve on Monday is now by appointment only. The Southeast Washington Incident Management Team announced late last night that the state is now mandating that people pre-register in order to get the vaccine here. The site was open for around 6 hours on Monday. The first man in line from Walla Walla telling us that he woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning just to be first in line.
I'm getting this shot because I got to protect all the other grandparents, the grandkids, the wife, and everybody else.
This morning, the site will be open at 8:30, and people will only be able to enter if they are pre-registered. If you have an appointment for today before 2 p.m., you can get the shot in the arm. But for those of you that have an appointment after 2 p.m., your appointment will now be moved to Wednesday. To schedule an appointment, go to prepmod.doh.wa.gov. You can check out findyourphasewa.org to see if you are eligible to receive the vaccine. You must bring proof of registration as well as your findyourphasewa.org confirmation. Now, the site did give out 500 doses of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine on the first day, but today officials tell me that they will be giving out the Moderna vaccine just because of the quantity of doses they received from the state. Officials are once again stressing the importance of having patience today. Lines are already long, and recognizing that you must pre-register in order to receive the vaccine here. Back to you, Monica.
Thank you, Neil. We've been seeing it again and again, people wanting to get their shots so much that they were even turning people away yesterday at the fairgrounds hours before vaccinations were even supposed to start. State officials say they've struggled to get answers from the federal government about exactly how many doses of the vaccine we'll get. And the White House press secretary says the Biden administration is working on getting those answers.
Our team is working right now. We've been here for 5 days to evaluate the supply so that we can release the maximum amount while also ensuring that everyone can get the second dose on the FDA recommended schedule. So the confusion around this issue, which we acknowledge there is some confusion, is speaks to a larger problem, which is what we're inheriting from the prior administration, which is much worse than we could have imagined.
In Washington, Governor Inslee wants to see health providers giving out 45,000 doses of the vaccine every day. So far, we're averaging less than half that. But vaccination efforts are starting to speed up across Washington. More than 2,000 people got their first dose of the vaccine yesterday at a pop-up clinic at Amazon's headquarters in Seattle. Health experts say one big problem has been finding enough space to give people the vaccine and then have them wait socially distanced for up to half an hour to make sure they don't have a reaction. Amazon owns millions of square feet in Seattle, so space isn't an issue for them.
The operations, the IT, the security, the wayfinding. Space like this, pretty incredible. A representative of Amazon contacted Virginia Mason Franciscan Health just last Tuesday. And yes, just last Tuesday, after hearing the governor's request that we vaccinate 45,000 Washingtonians every day.
The state is also teaming up with Starbucks on ways to keep people moving through the clinics, as well as with Microsoft on making sure the state's vaccine website works properly, and with Costco on delivering the vaccine. Well, need an excuse for a date night? Go ahead and make a reservation for Tuesday night. Maybe you can't today, actually. Yeah. That's a perfect way to celebrate National Spouses Day. Think back to your wedding and remember all the love on that day. You know, Kristen, you just got married.
Oh, it still seems like yesterday.
I know. Marriage isn't always easy, and the importance of the bond between spouses sometimes gets lost in the hustle and bustle of day-to-day life. But taking time to appreciate the person who is there through good times and bad is essential to keeping a strong relationship. National Spouses Day isn't about exchanging gifts, but rather spending time together. You can also give a shout out to your sweetie on social media using the hashtag National Spouses Day.
And you don't have to make a reservation at a restaurant. You could just say, okay, I'm making dinner tonight. Let's sit down. Let's have a really good conversation at the dinner table, not while, you know, you're watching TV with your bowl, whatever you're eating, because that's, I will say, that's happened to me a lot of times. But yeah, at the dinner table, nice conversation.
You know, a lot of guys might not realize it's that easy sometimes to make your girl smile. All righty, coming up next on Good Morning Northwest, we have a lot more, but first let's take that live look outside.
And we have a little bit of a break from the winter weather today, but another round is on the way. I'll tell you who's under a winter weather advisory. It's all coming up.
Plus, when it comes to finding a place that offers the coronavirus vaccine, Google Maps now wants to help. Welcome back, everyone. Your iPhone could disrupt a pacemaker if it gets too close. That's the warning Apple sent out over the weekend. A report in the Heart Rhythm Journal says the iPhone 12's wireless charging technology can deactivate a pacemaker if it gets too close. Apple says if you have any implanted medical device, you should keep the iPhone 12 and all its accessories at least 6 inches or 15 inches away while it's charging. A new Google Maps feature is rolling out in the coming weeks. According to Google, searches for, quote, vaccines near me have increased 5-fold since the new year. So the company said it's adding a feature to share where vaccination sites are. The results are expected to include details about whether an appointment is required, if the vaccine is only available to certain groups, and if there's a drive-through. They're trying out the feature first in Arizona, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. The need for information on vaccines vaccine sites is clear. According to a Kaiser Family Foundation survey, 60% of Americans say they don't know when or where to get a vaccine. For the latest here locally, visit yaktrinews.com/vaccine. Coming up next on Good Morning Northwest, as the COVID-19 stricken economy struggles, President Biden is pushing for a bipartisan agreement on his stimulus deal. Details just ahead. Welcome back. In news from across America, President Joe Biden is expected to announce more of his economic recovery plan during next month's address to a joint session of Congress. No word on what the final price tag will be, but the president says it'll feature historic investments. In the meantime, Biden is hoping leaders in Washington, D.C. will pass his major relief package. John Lawrence reports.
The Biden administration is trying to boost a struggling U.S. economy battered by the COVID-19 pandemic.
There are tens of millions of Americans who are really on the economic precipice. There are thousands of businesses, particularly restaurants, who are on the verge of going out of business.
President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief plan earmarks funds for things like stimulus checks, housing assistance, and increased unemployment benefits.
I don't expect we'll know whether we have an agreement and to what extent the entire package will be able to pass or not pass until we get right down to the very end of this process.
While some Democrats favor a pricier proposal, some Republicans want to tighten the purse strings, including Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who says he's against another round of stimulus checks.
Any further action should be smart and targeted, not just an imprecise deluge of borrowed money that would direct huge sums toward those who don't need it.
As the talks go back and forth, the Biden administration is hoping for a bipartisan agreement.
Democrats and Republicans can engage and give their input and feedback on what they think is going to work and how to move this package forward.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Now, if both sides can't come to terms, Democrats may pursue a rare and controversial legislative process called reconciliation. That move would allow many parts of the bill to pass the Senate with a majority vote. And the White House says Vice President Kamala Harris will get her second dose of the coronavirus vaccine today. She got her first dose live on national TV in late December. The Vice President is scheduled to get her second Moderna shot at the National Institutes of Health. She is urging Americans to get the vaccine and said it's quick and relatively painless. The Senate has confirmed Janet Yellen as the first woman to serve as Secretary of the Treasury. Yellen was expected to receive widespread bipartisan support, and she did. 84 senators voted to confirm Yellen, with 15 voting no. The Senate Finance Committee approved her nomination unanimously last week, and during that process, Yellen told senators with interest rates at historic lows, the smartest thing we can do is act big. Her first order of business will be shepherding President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan through Congress. That package would include $1,400 stimulus checks for taxpayers. We're looking at some possible black ice in parts of Kennewick this morning. Look out in the area of Southridge Boulevard in Kennewick. This is between the Trios Health Hospital and Southridge High. Yesterday there was a water main break there, flooding the roadway. The water has since been restored, but wet areas like this have the potential to get icy. Southridge Boulevard was temporarily shut down yesterday between Hildebrand and West 36th Place. And we saw more than a dozen crashes in the Tri-Cities with roads like this yesterday. Police say people were just driving too fast for conditions. While most of that snow has melted off the roads for now, Kristen is forecasting more for this week.
Now, Cap KVU First Alert Weather with Chief Meteorologist Kristen Walls.
And that's right. The next round is not too far away. We have a winter weather advisory that is already in place, expected to start at 6 p.m. today until 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Highlighted area here, so the Yakima and the Kittitas Valley into the eastern slopes. We'll have the best chance to see some of that accumulating snowfall. That'll start again later on this evening, but I think the majority of the daytime hours today will be dry, enjoying some sunshine as the sun comes up early this morning, but some quiet conditions early this morning. That next system that is just off the coast, this is expected to bring us that chance for some winter weather. Wintry mix for some, accumulating snow for others. Let's get you over to Futurecast. You'll see here by 5 o'clock, the majority of the area still will be dry as you're heading home from work, but that leading edge of that winter weather starting to move into the eastern slopes. I think possible in the Yakima Valley just after about 6 or 7 o'clock, but moving into the Columbia Basin, into the Tri-Cities after about 10 or 11 o'clock, starting off as a wintry mix for the Tri-Cities into the foothills, the Blues. Of course, that accumulating snowfall is expected to continue overnight into early tomorrow morning, so it will be a slick commute for your Wednesday morning. I think by 8 or 9 o'clock, we'll slowly start to dry things out from the Tri-Cities over into Toppenish. So all this winter weather heading up to our north. We'll have a little bit of a brief break, but another week round of energy moving through will give us just a slight chance for maybe a sprinkle or even a wintry mix for the Yakima and the Kittitas Valley as you're heading home from work. But nothing like that we'll see out the door early tomorrow morning. And I think the majority of your Thursday will be dry with that partly sunny sky. Now, how much snowfall are we talking in that winter weather advisory? Anywhere between 1 to 3 inches for the Yakima and the Kittitas Valley, but wouldn't be surprised to see a few pockets even up to 4 inches as the system makes its way through, about a ½ inch, even up to 1 inch from the Tri-Cities and into the foothills of the Blues. So we'll continue to monitor this for you. We'll be right here on Good Morning Northwest as you get ready to hit the road tomorrow morning. Let's get you over to those current temperatures right now. We're down to about 33 in the Tri-Cities, so just a degree above freezing. Walla Walla early this morning, we're sitting in at 30 degrees for now down to 29, 33 for Prosser, and then 31 for Yakima. Just a little bit of some fog, especially for the eastern slopes of the Cascades this morning. So as we get you over to some of those current what we're expecting this afternoon, 34 for Yakima, 29 degrees this afternoon in Ellensburg, with 40 in the Tri-Cities and the Hermiston, 36 degrees in Prosser, and then those upper 30s for Pendleton, Walla Walla, and even for Dayton. So overnight tonight, snow will be likely, wintry mix at times as temperatures fall into the upper 20s and low 30s. So we'll have that wintry mix tomorrow for the Tri-Cities. Back to some more drier conditions towards the end of the week, but numbers starting to warm. So up to 46 on Saturday, maybe a few afternoon showers there on Sunday and close to 50 degrees. And then that 7-day forecast for Yakima, snow chances will be likely, especially heading into Wednesday morning, drying out towards the end of the work week, and then another chance for a wintry mix by Sunday afternoon.